Darth Vader was never meant to lose to Starkiller. Not in the first game, not in the second, and certainly not in the third. In the Force Unleashed trilogy that never was, we were supposed to witness one of the most brutal character reversals in Star Wars history. The moment where Vader, finally having learned every lesson from his failures, completely dismantles the very weapon that he has created. But that ending never came to life. The project was cancelled, the story stopped short, and what we were left with were two duels, both incredible, both devastating, but neither the true conclusion that Vader's arc was building towards. Still, when you piece together the lore, developer commentary, and what Sam Witwer himself confirmed about the planned finale, the picture becomes much more clear. Vader's victory wouldn't have been just a simple rematch, it would have been a lesson in evolution. A duel where the monster of Mustafar, rebuilt through pain and precision, finally proves why he's not just a relic of the past, but the ultimate product of the dark side. When you look closely at the first two games, their choreography, their tone, and the psychological warfare between both characters, the pattern becomes obvious. By the time of The Force Unleashed 3, Vader wasn't just ready to beat Starkiller, he was completely ready to end him there, definitively. But before we can understand why that victory would have been so decisive, we have to return to the very beginning, to the raw, desperate chaos of The Force Unleashed 1, and to the duel that defined the dynamic between Master and Apprentice. When Galen Merrick Starkiller first faces Lord Vader on the Death Star, it's not just a battle of strength, it's the culmination of an experiment that's finally outgrown its cage. Vader created Starkiller as a weapon, a secret apprentice trained to hunt the remaining Jedi and to serve as the ultimate blade of a true Sith Lord. But what Vader did not realize was that in shaping Starkiller, he was creating his own story in miniature. A gifted child, torn between purpose and emotion, built to destroy but yearning for identity. By the time their first duel truly erupts, Starkiller is no longer a simple assassin. He is a paradox, a Jedi killer who's learned too much compassion, a Sith who's learned too much doubt. Vader enters the fight with complete confidence. To him, this isn't an equal, it's a product test. He wants to see how far the weapon can go. Vader toys with Galen the same way Sidious toyed with Mace Windu during their duel in Revenge of the Sith, holding back, measuring, experimenting. But that decision is what cost Vader everything in this duel. The mirror of Sidious and Windu. In Revenge of the Sith, Palpatine's fight with Mace Windu has long been debated. Did the Sith Lord truly lose, or was it an elaborate ruse to push Anakin closer to the dark side? But beneath this debate lies a powerful concept. Sometimes when a Sith toys with their prey for too long, they create a feedback loop of power that they can no longer control. And that's exactly what happened to Lord Vader in The Force Unleashed. By drawing out the duel, by testing Starkiller instead of crushing him, Vader gives his apprentice time to evolve. Each blow, each moment of desperation feeds into a self-reinforcing surge of emotion, anger, grief, betrayal, all of it pouring through the Force like a dam bursting. Starkiller's raw potential becomes focused. For the first time, his chaotic nature stabilizes, not through training, but through sheer instinct. In that moment, Vader loses control of his experiment. He underestimates the volatility of the Force. He mistakes emotion for weakness, when in truth, that is what gives Starkiller his strength here. And when that power ignites, it is too late. The duel turns brutal. Starkiller's fury is unleashed, and Vader's armor, once the symbol of dominance, becomes a liability. His heavy frame, built for control and endurance, struggles to keep pace with the sheer aggression of a fighter who no longer fears death. Blow after blow lands until finally Starkiller drives his saber through Vader's defenses, splitting his mask in half and sending him crashing to the ground. The sound of the mechanical breathing stuttering, the glimpse of a man beneath the armor. It's one of the most human moments in the entire series. Darth Vader is no longer a god here. He's no longer even a tormentor. He is his true self. Broken, wounded, and here, beaten. This is a real loss. It's not a feint, it's not a trick, but it is a lesson. Because in that defeat, Vader witnesses something terrifying. That the dark side, if wielded recklessly, can outpace even its own masters. Just as Sidious once watched Anakin surpass every Jedi in raw potential, Vader now sees Starkiller as the living echo of his own chaos, his own younger self, unrestrained by discipline or control. And just like before, the chaos wins, for now. But that loss does not humiliate Vader, it reshapes him. Every time Vader is beaten, whether by Kenobi or Starkiller, he learns and evolves. He studies his pain like scripture. He doesn't see defeat as weakness, he sees it as potential data. When Starkiller strikes him down, Vader isn't just left broken, he's watching. He's analyzing everything. the speed, the angles, the force surges, the emotional triggers. He's memorizing the blueprint of Starkiller, because that is what makes Darth Vader so dangerous. He never repeats the same mistake twice. So while the first duel ends with Vader's physical defeat, it plants the seed of psychological evolution, and that evolution explodes in the sequel. The Force Unleashed 2 doesn't just reintroduce Starkiller, it fractures and changes him. This isn't Galen Merrick anymore. It's a clone built in Kamino's sterile laboratories, haunted by the question, am I even real? And Vader knows exactly how to use that doubt against the clone. Vader's second duel with Starkiller is not a rematch. It's an experiment conducted under now controlled conditions. He's no longer testing physical limits. That was the first game. Now, he's testing identity. He fills Kamino with failed clones, twisted, screaming reflections of Starkiller's own face, each one a failed attempt at recreating perfection. Each one a mirror that asks the same question: what if I'm next? It's psychological warfare at its purest. Vader has turned cloning, his greatest scientific failure, into a battlefield weapon. Every corridor, every test chamber is a deliberate assault on the clone's mind. He's not trying to kill him, he's mapping him. And that's where Vader's mastery shines. He's not just fighting anymore, he's studying. In the first game, Vader's silence and fury define the battle. In the second, he adopts something else entirely: the art of Dunmak, psychological domination through speech. He taunts Starkiller relentlessly, each line carefully crafted to twist the knife. You are not him. You are nothing but a shadow. Even your memories are lies. Vader knows that the clone is more powerful than the original in raw potential, but raw power isn't what wins duels. Control does. And Vader has mastered that control through pain, repetition, and years of survival inside of his prison of armor. This time, he refuses to fight on Starkiller's emotional terms. Every blow is calculated, every feint is bait, every word is a probe into the clone's crumbling psyche. The laboratory of the mind. The brilliance of this encounter isn't in its choreography, it's in the subtext. The entire duel is a psychological autopsy. Vader using the fight to determine what the clone really is. How does he feel fear? Does he hesitate? Does he show mercy? He observes how the clone reacts when confronted with his failed versions, when forced to kill them, when hearing their screams. It is a test of emotional stability as much as it is a test of strength, and for every failure, Vader will record the result. This is where Vader's genius is often overlooked, his ability to turn even his own defeats into laboratory data. He's engineered the perfect countermeasure, not through arrogance, but through observation. But what is the purpose of the second loss? By the time the final duel of the Force Unleashed 2 unfolds, Vader has all of the information that he needs. He knows Starkiller's range, his force surges, his weaknesses, and above all, he knows his mercy. Mercy becomes the key. When the clone finally disarms Vader and stands above him, saber poised for the killing strike, Vader does not beg, he doesn't resist, he simply waits. Because this isn't a loss, it's a confirmation. He's testing whether the clone can transcend emotion, whether he can become what the Sith need him to be, a weapon of pure instinct, devoid of empathy. And when the clone spares him, choosing compassion over vengeance, Vader does not see mercy, he sees a failure. He was correct. The copy is nothing but an echo of compassion, a shadow of the man who once betrayed him, and the test is complete. What follows cements Darth Vader's dominance. The rebels believe they have finally captured the Dark Lord, hauling him away in shackles as their greatest victory. But nothing about Vader's posture or tone implies defeat. He's calm, cold, even curious, as if everything has unfolded exactly as he predicted. And maybe it did. The lore surrounding the cancelled Force Unleashed 3 suggests that Vader's capture was deliberate, that he allowed himself to be taken so that he could locate the heart of the rebel leadership. It was all a part of a grander plan. The moment the rebels take him aboard their ships, they carry the very beacon that will lead their enemies straight to them. And when Boba Fett arrives to rescue Vader, it isn't a rescue mission at all, it's an extraction, a prearranged step in a greater strategy. So when the players see Vader subdued at the end of the Force Unleashed 2, it isn't weakness, it's the calm of a hunter closing the trap. When you line these two confrontations side by side, a pattern emerges. Vader learns more the more that he loses. Each duel teaches him something about control, how emotion will fuel power, how identity anchors strength, and how to dismantle both. That's the terrifying part. By the end of the Force Unleashed 2, Vader has studied not only how to counter Starkiller's physical style, but how to collapse his entire being. He knows the rhythm of his force surges. He knows when his emotions peak and when they falter. He knows how mercy delays his killing strikes. He knows how compassion interferes with instinct. And most importantly, he knows that Starkiller is still searching for meaning, while Vader has already found his in pain. Everything about Vader's composure at the end of The Force Unleashed 2 suggests readiness, not defeat. The first duel shattered his armor. The second solidified his mind. The third, had it been made, would have unified both. But that's the story that we never got. The story where Vader's years of observation, patience, and manipulation converge in one final duel. A duel not of rage, but of resolution. Because by then, Vader wouldn't have been testing Starkiller anymore. He would have been ending him. When you look back across the first games, it's obvious that The Force Unleashed was never really about who was stronger. It was about who learns faster. Starkiller burned brighter but shorter. Vader adapted, evolved, and endured. Every defeat made him stronger. Every scar was a note in his manual of survival. And by the time the stage was set for The Force Unleashed 3, the outcome was inevitable. Vader wouldn't have simply beaten Starkiller. He would have dismantled him. The only question that remains is how? What exactly would have made that third duel so final, so one-sided that even Starkiller's boundless potential would not be enough to save him? To uncover why Vader's victory would have been absolute, we have to step inside his evolution, not just as a warrior, but as a strategist, a teacher, and the embodiment of control. The third game would have opened with Darth Vader captured, dismantled by the rebels, his limbs torn away, his mask removed. For the first time since Mustafar, Darth Vader would be helpless, laid bare. But the dark side does not beg, it rebuilds. As the rebels tear him apart, Vader reaches inward, past the pain, past the machine. He touches only the Force. He calls the armor back to him piece by piece. Metal levitates, limbs twist into place, bolts spin and hiss as they lock into living flesh. The sound of his breathing returns, not as weakness, but as rebirth. The man is gone. Only the monster remains. This is the Vader that enters the final duel. In the third duel, Vader will not hesitate. He will not toy. He will not wait. He attacks. There is no wasted motion. His armor becomes weight turned weapon. Momentum and inevitability fused into one. Each strike lands like a meteor shower. Slow, deliberate, completely unstoppable. Every breath is rhythm. Each exhale and inhale is a promise of a block, a killing stroke. Vader does not fight with emotion, he fights with understanding. He knows the clone's timing. He knows where the anger peaks. He knows when compassion interrupts instinct. And he uses it all. He taunts not to provoke, but to dismantle. You were not my equal when I found you, and now you are nothing. The line hits like a blade to the soul, the culmination of everything the dark side teaches. Once Vader tested his weapon to see how strong it could become, now he reminds it what it truly is, a failed reflection of himself. Starkiller roars back with every ounce of fury that he has, waves of lightning, bursts of energy powerful enough to tear apart a hangar. But this time, Vader doesn't resist the storm, he guides it, he bends it. He turns Starkiller's own power into motion, redirecting his strikes, bleeding off of his energy, using chaos itself as his fuel. The more Starkiller fights, the faster he burns out, the calmer Vader becomes, until the duel becomes inevitable. Vader stops attacking. He lets Starkiller throw everything at him, every surge, every scream, every desperate swing. Then, with precision, Vader catches his blades in a single overpowering bind. The Force surges again. The sabers crackle, and Vader drives him to his knees. The same apprentice who once split the mask apart now finds himself crushed beneath the same armor, perfected, unflinching, unbreakable. You were my lesson. The red blade cuts downward, and silence follows. The experiment ends, and the circle closes. I am Lord Darth Vader, Dark Lord of the Sith. According to Whitwer, this line was intended to mirror Anakin's rebirth and Revenge of the Sith, the inverse of You Were the Chosen One. Instead, Vader reclaims his name not as shame or as a curse, but as a declaration of absolute mastery. It would have followed Starkiller's last desperate surge, the moment where Vader fully crushes him and reestablishes himself as the ultimate dark side entity. Starkiller's journey was about finding identity, the desperate search to prove that he was real. Darth Vader's journey is about control, The unrelenting pursuit of order through pain. The revelation that Darth Vader did not need to craft the dark side's perfect weapon. He already was it. The ending is inevitable. Starkiller represents passion without purpose. Vader represents purpose without emotion. Chaos burns bright. Order endures. The first shattered his body. The second shattered Starkiller's mind. The third shatters the illusion that they were ever equals. Vader doesn't win because he's stronger. He wins because he learns. Because he's whole. Every defeat built the architecture of this perfect victory. He doesn't just beat Starkiller, he solves him completely. And when it's over, Vader stands over Starkiller's broken form, silent, composed, unfeeling. He doesn't gloat, he doesn't rage, he doesn't even hate. He learned everything there was to learn. The weapon has served its purpose. The third game was never about who was stronger. It was about how Vader evolved, how he became the Dark Lord of the Sith yet again. Starkiller burned bright, Vader burned longer. And that is why in the story that was never told, there was never going to be balance between them. There was only ever going to be one truth. Vader would not have simply defeated Starkiller in the final game. He would have dismantled him. There are rumors that Darth Vader was even going to be a playable character in the third game, that the player was going to take control of Lord Vader in the final confrontation with Galen. The truth would be revealed, that while Galen Merrick wielded great power, he was not Sith. But anyway, my friends, what are your thoughts on this? What are your thoughts on the fact that Darth Vader wasn't just simply supposed to win the final duel with Galen Merrick Starkiller, but that it was going to be a decisive victory, and Vader reclaiming his mantle as a Dark Lord? I think we could have had a genuine masterpiece on our hands, guys. But anyway, what are your thoughts on this? What are your thoughts on the third duel between Starkiller and Darth Vader? And do you like this in the lore? Do you like the idea that Vader has completely solved the apprentice? As always, my friends, may the Force be with you, and I hope to see you back in the archives soon.